All right, hello, welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging and Friends. We are back tonight, and we are playing Otherscape, or Metro Otherscape, or Down in Arizona Bay, which is the name that we have settled. The AB! I love that. We have to make this game so successful that the next time I go to a game convention, we just like shout it down the halls and such. This could be a terrible stream. As I was just explaining to everybody, I woke up this morning with Nickelback stuck in my head, and it's really been that kind of day. So yeah, we're gonna see how it goes.
It's a good day.
It really. I don't know. But yeah, we're playing Otherscape. If you didn't watch the session 0, that's all right. All you missed was us building our mega city and getting our characters pieced together. In the last couple of weeks, folks have polished them up, have settled on names and some choices and things like that, and we should be ready to go. And I think the only person who had like a straight up, Melissa, is your like title of your character, is that like a straight up from the book thing, the haunted elector priest?
So technically in the book it was Egyptian lector priest, and so I just switched it up to being a little more vague and haunted lector priest.
Gotcha. And then Maitre, there's a chromed up ogre, but you went chromed up problem solver. Okay, all right. And then everyone else just kind of
is the wall that needs to be broken down. I'm really good at handling it.
You're like the Kool-Aid man. So every time you knock one down, I want to hear, "Oh yeah!" Oh, that's Randy Savage. I guess I don't know.
Can we change it to chrome covered solution?
That's up to my
no problem. We'll just stop there.
Could be. But all right, we're gonna start tonight. Let's be honest here for a second. None of us know how to play. So this could be ugly for the beginning. Wilson and I have been working on a little primer handout cheat for everybody. But we're going to try to go through things slowly, little by little. The game itself, I think the mechanics of it are pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of options and fun little things you can do. So we're going to try to layer it on little bit by bit and kind of introduce some things here and there. So unless there's questions, do y'all want to just get started?
Do it to it.
All right.
Make it happen, Captain.
Yep.
Okay, I was actually in my notes. It says take their questions for 20 minutes and then start the session. So,
we were super ready to go right now.
That's problematic. Okay.
Whoops.
This is gonna be we're gonna be done in 20 minutes. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's get a little music going. Let's get a little cyberpunk music going. If I can figure out where it is. All right. So we're gonna start off in scene, and you can introduce your characters during play. So we open up in the Smokestacks district, which is the westernmost portion of Arizona Bay, and it is the one that is literally on the border with the water, Arizona Bay. And we are specifically in the southern quarter, so on the southern side of the district itself. We sort of zoom around what looks like a reclaimed factory, like some sort of industrial factory. It doesn't look like it's actually functional any further. You can see that it's been repurposed in a variety of ways. Outside on the ground floors, there's groups of various folk of all sorts of different punk-like gear, some heavily kind of infused with augments, others slinking around in the shadows. We watch like a silhouette of a group of people slip by them and enter in this larger silo-like structure. Then we kind of cut from that, and eventually we see that same group of people begin to emerge on the uppermost levels of this place. This is, in fact, called, very cleverly, the Silo. It is a bar, restaurant in the southern section of the Smokestacks district. We can see as we kind of look out some of the windows and such, when the weather is right, we can probably see all the way to the Badlands. But right now, the weather is a little foggy, a little overcast, a little smog covered. We pass by all sorts of exposed brick walls, whether or not those are real brick or whether or not they are like faux brick repurposed or reinstalled to kind of affect a certain style. Not entirely clear. We see various metal pipes just coming out of walls here and there, soldered down the middle. We can see vintage machinery that is being popped up to kind of all create this like authentic feel. And when the group that we were kind of traveling or tracking emerges at the uppermost level of the silo. We can now see there's this sleek welded furniture, and through them we can see these little pulsing neon lights. We can see these faux incandescent bulbs that are hanging from these extension cords over various private booths and tables. Music is thrumming from one level below, where it's pretty much your standard youthful rave, but it's here on the top level where business goes down. We can see in the far corner booth with two sort of foggy windows overlooking one eastern, one northern, the various industrial sprawl. We can see a woman with her back into that corner. She's in her 60s. She's got gray, untouched hair. She is tied very tightly back. Her business suit is kind of charcoal colored, and really their only affectation is this pair of dangle earrings that occasionally, as it turns, pulses green. And she is clearly and sharply watching this crew of people that has just entered the VIP area of the silo. She has these orange-yellow eyes, these cybernetic eyes that are just you can tell from a distance are zooming in and assessing you as you come in. All of you would know her by reputation only as La Loba. She's a freelance fixer. She's got connections all across the district. If you can impress her, you basically gain access to a very expansive portfolio of jobs and resources that will be at your fingertips. If you piss her off, we're basically going back to session 0 because you're going to have to find another city. So, the first person that we're going to see who's maybe leading the way is going to be Joe. Tell us about a little bit about Clover. What do we see? Just describe as you come up to the table. What are we looking at, and what happens as you come to sit down?
Sure. So Clover, he is, think like noir investigator guy mixed with a witcher, and he does a lot of gunsmithing stuff. He's covered in tattoos. He's got various bits of he's got holsters all over him, apron. He's probably holding his like coat over his shoulder at this point, trying to be a little bit more formal. Pulling it out, going to sit down at the table.
As you come up and you're like the first one here, like a couple steps in front of the rest of your crew, you can see her eyes just follow you, and she says, almost maybe to your surprise, "Thank you for coming, Clover. Please take a seat." And as you slip into a side of the booth, behind you, we see Ivan. Chuck, tell us a little bit about Ivan as you come up.
Yeah, Ivan. He's really going hard for that like homeless vet kind of thing. I got the ratty green jacket, boots that are too large, and just kind of held in place with duct tape, keeping them tight. I am a street mage, not good with the tech, but good with lighting the tech on fire. But I did spring quite a bit of cash on getting my identity zeroed out. So, yeah, Ivan, if I myself was flexible enough to pop one of the Slavic squats, I think that would really describe Ivan's personality, but I'm not flexible.
As you come up, like the woman, La Loba, turns in your direction, and after Clover kind of takes the seat, and she kind of says with almost a quizzical look on her face as her forehead scrunches up, "I heard you incinerated yourself."
Several times.
Huh. Interesting. Have a seat.
All right.
And as you slide in, the next we see coming up, as Ivan takes a seat in the booth, we see Verana. So, Melissa, tell us what we see with Verana as you come up close.
So next up, you see this figure that really just sort of like, it takes a while to see her face because she's kind of like looking down, kind of eyes downcast, and kind of walks, kind of with a bit of a stoop. She has this black like hooded cloak kind of a thing that is a little like kind of combo of sort of like a trench coat with, you know, sort of the cloak look to it. And she's got a this sort of like black leather like messenger bag over it that is very, very like well worn. It has a lot of like patches and like those kind of things on it. Dark clothes, kind of dark demeanor. So when she comes in, she doesn't sort of do what you would expect and, you know, sort of like make eye contact and smile or do anything like that. She's just sort of kind of shuffles in and just sort of like sits down.
Okay. And La Loba, this woman, again, in her 60s, Hispanic, very, very professional looking. Again, other than the dangling earrings and the cybernetic eyes, she look like she could work at a bank for all you could tell. But she kind of takes you in and doesn't really say anything at all. She just sort of nods, and she turns behind you and she sees walking up. Maitreya, tell us who she sees walking up next.
She sees Rika, who is couldn't be more opposite to Rono, who came in sort of quietly and almost like a shadow. And Rika, on the other hand, has this like big beaming smile on, and she's kind of looking around and taking everything in because she's not usually in the VIP of anywhere. But she's your chromatopogger, which means she installs the heaviest augments, and she's essentially running a lot of brushed dark steel Militech chrome, which is high performance but not pretty necessarily. Body's kind of this patchwork of steel and synthetic skin. Lots of visible circuitry. She's got metallic arms that are, you know, segmented by pistons and wiring, a lot of which Clover has put together. For her left eye is an optical lens, quite similar to Loba's, maybe, and kind of darting around and scanning everything.
Okay. So as you come up, she looks at you. And again, like for a moment, maybe through your cybernetic eyes and through her cybernetic eyes, there's like scanning going on. And she's just like checking off all of the various like different augments you have, the various weapons and things like that. And she says to you, I very much like this place. I hope you don't go shooting it up and making a scene.
I don't think I'll need to.
Very good. And then finally, bringing up the rear, Jeremy, tell us what we see last.
There's a large lumbering form that's humanoid in shape, but it's comprised mostly of mushrooms of various sizes, shapes, and colors, mixed in with maybe moss and bark and veins and vines and other mutated vegetation. He's grown patches of different mushrooms and vegetation to take the form of a face, but it's clear he's more mushroom than man. And wherever I don't know what you call those little gill type things on the bottom of a mushroom, but those things kind of hum with just like a little bit of like some sort of like energy. And as Agaricus walks into the room, if she has any designer plants, he'll take a moment to look at them and then grow some flowers to match her flora in the room so that he can match her decor.
Yeah, I would say that somewhere in the room there's probably like the contrast is sort of industrial vibe of it. You can see there are these neon bright flowers. You can tell they're probably synthetic, but as you look at them, you could probably manifest them in some way on your person. And her eyes will open a little wider at that, and she'll say, "What a very lovely gesture. I should warn you. Be careful how close you get to the chef. You might get the wrong kind of attention."
Well, I'm glad to share, but I don't think he'll enjoy the results of that.
You would be surprised. Anyhow, please have a seat. And as all of you sit down, you can see she's got her arms folded. Her business jacket goes down kind of like to the forearms, and you can see along her wrist she has maybe like a bangle bracelet or two. And as you all sit, she reaches down, hits a button or two on it, and you don't even actually see a button. It just looks like sleek chrome. She just touches the right place. And then you hear a bzzz, and this dome comes over top of your booth, this little silence dome. And she says, now we can talk privately. I wish to thank you all for responding to my invitation. I tend to prefer to meet with potential recruits before committing to any long-term plans. You have a very scattered reputation, I must say. I have heard some good things, I have heard some bad things. And she turns towards Clover, and she says, if it wasn't for your friend Deacon, Mr. Clover, I might not have extended the invitation. What exactly did you do to earn his praise? He was very tight-lipped.
It's a little bit of an embarrassing story for him, but let's say something went wrong and I was there to help him out. We can talk more about it if things continue to go well.
I appreciate your desire for privacy, but I am not too comfortable not knowing enough about those who might come within my network. So the more I can learn about you, the more comfortable I might be to extend you a plethora of opportunities. As I said, we are currently private. There's not a single surveillance device that could possibly penetrate this. So what you say here, I can assure you, stays with me.
Well, to be more specific, he was in a bind with a bad deal that he made, and I was there to help him out. My cat is freaking out. I'm sorry. But made a bad deal with the wrong people. I was there to bail him out, give him a place to stay for a while until he was able to rebuild his reputation and get rid of the problems he was having.
I see. Well, it is good to know that you take care in maintaining your relationships and assuring that you have their back when the time comes. It is an admirable quality. Mr. Agaricus.
Yes.
I have done some digging on your crew, and I heard there was a rumor that you have had some run-ins with Demeter Corp. I would rest assured that any animosity you have with the agricultural firm will not blow back on myself or any of my other crews.
I have no intention to bring any foul dealers to anybody's yard. I have no intention to them. I'd much rather just avoid them.
Avoiding them might be somewhat difficult considering their size and their reach, but I'll take that into consideration. What exactly...
Maybe I'll just be so useful that it's better to keep me around.
What exactly is the source of that animosity between you and Demeter Corp?
Well, seeing as we're being very candid here, I'm not entirely sure if I began as man or mushroom, but somewhere in the twain did meet. And I know it began in a lab.
I see.
If I knew more, I would gladly tell you, but it's a bit murky.
That is concerning. I will make a note. And then she kind of looks around at this point, and you can tell that she hasn't been pleased with the first two answers. They've been cagey, they've lacked information, and again, she is an extremely well-known, well-connected fixer who could either make your lives or make your lives hell. And so she is sort of looking around, and she's just trying to make some decisions. I have a possible job for you. A tryout, you might say. But I'm just not sure yet. I normally prefer more experienced crews. Miss Vrana, the jobs I normally provide are not for novices. What kind of experience does your crew have? How long have you been working together? The origins of your file are somewhat murky, to use Mr. Garricus's word.
Yes, we've been working together for... Obviously, sometimes we don't share all of our jobs, but I would say it's been a good 4 years.
4 years. I see. And you could tell that she kind of nods at that point, her eyes as if she's like taking a note, and that seems a little bit more to her liking. She turns to Ivan, and she says, Mr. Ivan. Yeah. Everyone in this city, everyone has motivation, something that drives them. What is it you would say motivates your crew to take the risks that I'm going to expect you all to take? Is it just monetary? Or is there something more?
Money's great, right? I like money, you like money, but like, I really feel like we have clicked together in our pursuit to find like the richest, wealthiest assholes out there and just fuck them over. That's my reasoning.
I see. I would not have taken you to be so political. See one of her eyes.
I wouldn't call it political.
No. Is it not?
What do you call it when you just want them all to burn?
Oh, Mr. Ivan, I think that is very much a political statement.
Oh, okay.
Anarchy.
Learn something every day.
I suppose there are more difficult positions to work with. Understand, however, that this city works because of a tenuous balance of relationships. If you go into every job and burn everything to the ground, what you do is you threaten the relationships that I have spent very long to cultivate. Relationships that could benefit you and your crew in the future. So I would appreciate some delicacy when applying your incineration skills.
Okay. I mean,
sometimes a controlled burn is useful. So
yeah. Well,
we'll
look at
check.
it like this. You're not paying me to incinerate people. You're paying me not to incinerate people.
Well, I'm not paying you at all, as of yet. That remains to be seen.
Oh, Iris, you like us.
No, I do not. This is business.
Okay.
And you can tell as her eyes like turn that not even a hint of a smile. And then finally she turns to Rika. I heard you recently ran into trouble at the Ghost Orchid job. Could you tell me a little bit of what happened?
I mean, you know when someone likes boosters a little too much? That's
Yes.
pretty much what happened. Nobody goes in thinking that they're going to be not able to manage themselves. But that's what happened when someone likes boosters and cash a little much.
She nods a bit.
Not that complicated. I wish it was a better story, but it's not.
She lets out a sigh and just reaches one of her hands up and just squeezes her forehead a little bit. Against my better judgment, and as a favor to our shared friend, Clover, I do in fact have a job that might be suited to your talents. Are you all familiar with the old school Hollywood collective?
Heard of it?
Yes.
Heard of it.
Of them.
Well, I have a contact within the collective who has been running into some trouble with a rival faction out in the Bay, the Siltborn Authority. She looks for recognition in any of your eyes. Anybody you'd like to try or think they might want to try just a roll just to test it out? Just to see if it's something you might know, so we can walk through the mechanics really fast.
I would love to.
Okay, so this game, very simply, is a 2d6 game. So you roll 2d6s. You are looking, so in order to kind of get a modifier for this, you just add up various tags that you think might be useful to you. And if they make sense, if I'm cool with it, you take a +1 for each of the tags that are applicable, and that becomes your dice roll modifier. Okay, so this is so what I'm basically referencing is this just a simple knowledge check just to see if you guys know this, just to sort of test this out. They are a crew that works in the smokestacks. They are kind of they're sort of a criminal organization. So if you have any tags that you think might particularly benefit you when it comes to knowing the underworld or knowing criminal gangs or anything like that, that's kind of the types of tags we're looking for. So if there's something that kind of fits that, call it out and we'll see if it's useful to you.
Okay,
And
so
can anyone
the
make this?
two that I'm considering are bust through walls. Because if it's a criminal empire, presumably you have to get into places.
I'm sorry, that wouldn't be applicable here.
You just accidentally burst through like one of the poker games one day.
Hilarious attempt.
The second is worked unusual jobs.
I think that is a perfectly reasonable one to use. Yes. Okay. So if Rika, if you want to make it, we can start with you. So go ahead and roll a 2d6. You're going to have a +1 to this. And then let me know what you get. And this is just going to be what we call a quick outcome. It's just a one-off. It's not anything that's tracked. It's like you either know stuff or you don't. It's basically all it kind of is. And I'm doing this not because it's really necessary to do, but I just wanted to kind of show a roll really fast.
Sure. So I rolled a 6 + 1 7.
Okay, so in this game, it is sort of tiered outcomes. And so in this case, a 7 to a 9 is what's called a mixed hit, which means you have a success with some consequences. So basically, I'm going to give you 2 pieces of information. One of these is going to be accurate. One of these is not going to be accurate, and I'm not going to tell you which. And that's sort of the deal. So 2 pieces of information that you would know, or at least that you think you know about the Siltborn Authority, that they basically live underwater in like various sunken habitats within the underneath the bay. And the second thing you know is that underneath it all, they're actually relatively devout and respectful of anybody who is not corporate aligned. Like they're definitely like low blue collar. Like the only trouble they get into is when there's like corporate stuff that's involved.
Okay.
So that's probably what Rika might think. Like they're not bad as long as you're not some rich corp, and they probably live in like some underwater, like habitats or something like that.
Okay. So when she mentions them, Rika is going to say, "Oh, the underwater guys."
She nods. She kind of hurts her eyebrows together. Yes, the issue is going to have you headed out to Arizona Bay. The collective has been trying to expand some of their offerings. They led by Mayacorp, have been trying to replenish some of the underwater habs with their augmented reality overlays. And apparently the Silkbound Authority has been interfering with their operations. And so much so that through a few of my contacts, this job has kind of come to my attention. Now, are any of you capable swimmers?
Excellent.
Oh,
Well, you very much should not be swimming in Arizona Bay. I'm not sure about your physiology, Mr. Garricus, but I could tell you that if any of the rest of you tried to swim there, it would be a very, very short swim. It is a very toxic environment, one that is prone to cause all sorts of malformations to the flora and fauna. And there are many folk who have risked their lives to dive and recover salvage from sunken California. And, well, they might come up to the surface, but they don't come up to the surface in the same condition they did when they first dove. So, you won't be swimming anywhere. Instead, what you'll need to do is you need to hire a junk boat captain. Find one you can trust. Be careful. They are a savvy and a very irritating bunch. Get them to take you out to one of the collective's platforms out west of the bay. And when you head down into one of the habs, look for a woman named Nostalgia Jack. She works out of the Orpheum. She could tell you a little bit more about what specific tasks she needs doing. Now, are there any questions that you might have?
what were we doing again?
Well,
We
I'm going to rescind the offer, and she
Wait.
she hits
They'll explain
her.
it. It's fine. Wait, no, my bad.
is there you mentioned that Mayacorp is doing some work and the collective is interfering with that work.
No, I said that Mayacorp uses their augmented reality overlays, and they sell them to the collective. And it is the Silkborn Authority that seems to be interfering with their reclamation projects in the Habs.
Yes, my
issue
apologies.
here
It's Silkborn
is the
Authority.
Silkborn.
Yes.
You spoke earlier of relationships. Do you have relationships with these silk people? Should we have a soft approach on this, or is a firm hand more what you're looking for?
I leave the specifics of how you handle them to you. But the goal is always to make the client happy. In this case, the client is Nostalgia Jack and the collective. If Nostalgia Jack wants a heavy hand, then you provide her a heavy hand.
Indeed.
Got it.
Yeah, so the question that I was aiming for was if there is information as to sort of motivations behind the Silkborn Authority and their interference.
They are not a particularly social group. They keep to themselves, very reclusive. They stay to the waters and to the coastline, the smokestacks. You should head over to Salt Spit Landing. That's where the junk boat captains tend to operate out of. See if you can convince one of them to give up their scavenging duties for an afternoon and take you out west. As for the Silkbound, you might ask around down by the landing, but again, they are a reclusive group.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions?
Do you have an expected time for us to be returning to you with our report, or will word come back to you that we have been successful?
I see no reason why you couldn't complete this task within 72 hours.
Understood.
Come back here when we're done.
You can contact me once. Well, you can contact Nostalgia Jack. Will reach out to me once the job is completed with a report of your progress and whether or not you have been helpful in her needs. If you are, then you will be hearing from me again. If you aren't, well, good luck to you. Now, are there any other questions?
Not so much a question per se, but I could see that maybe I got off on the wrong foot on how nondescript I was. Deacon, our mutual friend. So if you were wanting a little more definite information, he had a run-in with a rather low-tier demon when he was first establishing himself as a broker. Being a little naive, he didn't realize that's not really the type of person you negotiate when they've already written up a contract. So that backfired, made people angry, and I had to give him a place to lay low when I had to go deal with that.
I appreciate your candor, Mr. Clover. Now, there's nothing else. And you hear, and she starts pulling up all these different arms that apparently were hidden under the table, and you can see these guns begin to start leaking back into these different receptacles and ties of her arms. You get the sense that she had a gun pointed at each one of you underneath the table, and then she hits a button that, and you see outside of this cone that you all have been in, there's a handful of what you would imagine are her muscle, and not unlike Rika there, it's Rika, sorry. Not unlike Rika, you can tell that they're all chromed up as well. I think you have work to do.
Looks
Rika leans
like
over to
it.
Clover. Like, do you think we can do one of those?
I think so.
All right. Well, come on, guys. Let's get going. We got a swim to do.
Okay.
I'm quite sure that's not what we're going to do.
You guys certainly can. Okay, so
I think I'll be fine. You're screwed.
Wait.
So, do you guys go directly to like the Salt Spit Landing? Do you guys go back to a headquarters? You guys have a HQ? Is there like a particular hangout you all have to go and like get geared up or whatever? What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
We
there's
have
like
a
a
hangout.
little like safe house or something that probably
Okay.
are all like
It's
in a moment.
the old main office of this old industrial cleaner.
Oh yeah.
Long abandoned. They even left a few of their vans in there, but they don't run anymore.
Amazing.
Except for Clover's. Clover's got one, right?
Except
yeah.
for Clovis.
Okay.
Yep. I definitely
All right.
would have a place, even though my workshop's mobile in the van, I need a place to store all my scrap.
Do you guys think you're in the Stacks? Or do you think your headquarters is in a different district? So the Stacks is the westernmost district. It borders the Badlands on the south. It borders what's it called? The Ruskra district to the east. That's the one that's basically social like anarchy. Everything's fallen. It's just a bunch of like criminal families and such. And then to the northeast, it borders the Red Green district, and that's the one that's got your Mounties and such. The Stacks. So the Stacks is like not very centralized, and it's right on the water. Like, do you think you would be here, or do you think you'd find somewhere else to be your HQ?
I'd
for
love
Little
for
Russia.
us to be in the Stacks if nobody else is like real particular.
Ivan
I'm
wants
good with
Russia.
the stacks, if not
Okay.
Little
Mhm.
Russia.
Okay.
So long as we have a place with like a lawn, maybe a tree, just,
Little Russia is right next to. Where's the plant one? Is
I
that Red
just
Green or
like
Burger
the
Green?
Yeah.
Plant one,
fucked
I think,
up
is the
neighborhood.
Badlands.
Like the fucked up neighboring districts is what's really selling me.
So the Badlands
Yeah,
is 30.
yeah,
It's
the
31 to
Stacks.
33 on our map, and the Badlands is the place that had all the fungal stuff, if you recall.
Mhm.
So hang
Go with
on.
the stacks then.
Okay.
Yeah,
So okay. So the Stacks is also the place that's got a lot of gangs, cults, countercultures. It's got some sprawling
Nice.
cyberspace. Okay, good
Bolts
stuff.
works for Rana.
Has that trickster? It has the trickster spirits that have fostered a psychedelic drug culture, and it has like the subnet cyberspace with the underwater stuff. And that's where we get the old school Hollywood collective from. I just really like the idea of the old school Hollywood collective as like a thing. So that's our first job.
It's a great name.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good with the Stacks.
Okay. So as we take a moment, let's go ahead. We're at the main offices of a former industrial cleaner that has been revamped to serve as your HQ. Is this a place where you all stay? Like you sleep here? Like this is where you crash? Or is this just like where you come to work? Or is it just where you store your gear? What do you think?
Oh, I live here.
Oh, I think Rika does too. Rika for sure lives here.
Okay. All right.
Listen, it was an upgrade. I was staying in the dumpster out back.
Rika, any extra cash goes towards like tuning up her growth.
Okay.
I think I've got like a hammock here, but I live somewhere else.
Okay. So this is
I
like
can grow my own bed.
Okay.
Rana
Good,
may stay here, but she definitely has sort of her tragically empty home that
Okay.
she.
Okay.
So Ivan and Rika are like roommates. Like
Okay.
I love
It's
it.
worth the rent just to leave it empty.
And then somewhere out back, there's like a single tree in like a dumpster, and that's where Garrus makes his home, like all the way in the back, like on the borders to Badlands.
Just overgrown with random stuff, and he just kind of like nestles inside of it.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you like one other question, and then we'll get to loadout. So, what is like the biggest annoyance or trouble that you all have faced in the HQ? Like, is it like are there certain other people that are trying to cause some problems? Is it or is it some issue with the actual like building itself? Like, what do you think is the biggest problem that you all have faced at this HQ?
We're by the water here, kind of, right? In the smokestacks. I feel like the basement floods just constantly. Like there should be an entire other floor underneath us, but we can never use it.
We have to like real carefully like duct tape around the door frame to keep like the water snakes and bugs and stuff from coming in.
Water snakes, dear God. Okay. All right. So the basement floods. There's a lot of duct tape. I think that's one of Jeremy's potential loadout.
Yeah, I usually
too.
have
That
duct
makes
tape.
sense.
It's one of my starting gear.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is like the one thing about the HQ that is super beneficial that you like it? This is why you picked it. Like this is like the feature essentially.
I mean, if it was like an industrial place, it's probably like, despite the flooding, maybe it's a fairly sound place. Like if you have to bunker up.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's easy to like, it's easy to reinforce.
Defensible?
Right? Oh, it's defensible. Perfect. Yeah.
Like, 'cause this is an area that has lots of gangs. So push comes to shove, we can fall back.
Okay. So this probably wasn't a long trip for you all to head over to Silo then. If you're out of the smokestacks, if you're near the water, Silo is a little bit more inward, but it's nonetheless, you're in the same district. It's probably just a quick hop over. Maybe you hop into Clover's van, whatever it might be. All right. So then we'll say you all make a quick trip back to your HQ. Is there anything else that you all would have wanted to do before you head out to this like this dock area that she referenced? Is there like anything else that you would want to do in terms of preparation?
Yeah.
I would definitely want to like search if there's anything like in current news or over like the last week or so that's popped up about these two groups that we're kind of messing with.
Okay. We could do that. I think we can make a roll. We could do a quick outcome roll for that. So let's do a test. So Clover, you're accessing various subnets and seeing if there's anything across like the cyberspace scrolls that might have popped or pinged about either of these groups, either the Siltbound Authority or the old school Hollywood Collective. So it's going to be 2d6, but then let's take a look at your tags. This is just a quick outcomes. We're not tracking anything. It's just a pure like, success, fail, or semi-success. So what do you think might help you in this?
I was thinking knowledge of the occult would probably help me.
I think that would actually help
if they don't
you.
Mention things by name.
Yep, that would help you. That would help you. Anything else? Any other tags?
There's analytical brain augment, which I guess could help me like search faster.
Yeah,
through
100%.
these.
Like
Yeah.
Minority Report
Yeah.
style.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so give me a 2d6 roll. You've got +2, it sounds like. So go ahead and roll 2d6 +2 and let me know what you got.
All right, got an 8.
Okay, so 8 is another one of those kind of mixed successes. So in this game, the break off is 6 and under is consequence. So you missed and you get a consequence. 7 to 9 is success with consequence, and then 10 and above is success without consequence. You also can, if you want, opt into a consequence at 10 or above in order to like get extra power on things. When it comes to a kick outcome, there's not as much reason to do it, but in certain cases, it would be useful. Okay, so in this case, same kind of deal. I'll kind of give you one bit of information that's like pretty sound and one bit that's a little bit murkier. So from what you've been able to glean, there have been reports, at least there's been some chatter that the Siltbound Authority has, especially since you have like a knowledge of the occult and things like that, that they have somehow tapped into a news source that is either in one of these like old sunken California habs or somewhere along the coast. And there's kind of reference to the name, the Makara, which is like a sort of a creature that for them has to do with like protection and transformation and things like that, and that they have kind of taken on this mantle of like protecting the bay. So that's kind of one of the things that you've learned. The other thing you've heard is maybe about the Old School Hollywood Collective, that they really only cater to wealthy clients who are looking for some level of delusion and escapism. Like the whole idea of these sunken habs is that they want to get out from the griminess of the rest of the city, and like this is like their way of just going into some fantasy land permanently. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else doing anything?
Yeah, I'm curious if Nostalgia Jack specifically, maybe the collective broadly, like not all of my chrome is strictly legal, and I think that there's probably some gray or black market contacts with some scavenging or gang leaders and that kind of thing. So I'm wondering if I have any familiarity with Nostalgia or anything with regards to like chrome smuggling, through that avenue.
So really it's about the tags. So do you have tags on your sheet that would reinforce this idea that you've got connections to whatever industry that you're like trying to dig into? So
right. The only one I can think of is, or the only one that looks even remotely reasonable, is corporate investors.
I think that would apply. Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So then give me a 2d6 at +1 and we'll see how you do. And some of these consequences, by the way, I might hold for later, in the sense like they're not necessarily relevant right this moment, but they might become relevant later as you try to apply some of the information that you're gaining from this.
So rolled an 8 + 1 is a 9.
Okay, so still that's a mixed success. So in terms of corporate investors, if you start digging into Nostalgia Jack, what you know about Nostalgia Jack, or what you've been able to glean, is that she apparently has connections to the Sweet Release District, and that she in sort of the mine erasure or the memory mining industry, she apparently was a fairly well-known player in that industry, but for some reason is on the outs or kind of sort of either left that industry or fled that industry or changed industries, that the specifics of which are unclear, but she was at some point a fairly key player in that sort of memory mining industry in Sweet Release. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Verona, did you have something?
Yeah, so Verona, so not kind of specific to the job, but sort of before the job. So because of her esoterica mythos theme, she must perform rites to honor the spirits. So before going out on kind of the next job, she will, she's got a spot sort of in, kind of a side room of our HQ that no one else goes in, that she's got set up with all of her kind of ritual things that she needs to do. She's got her ritual dagger because, of course there's, blood involved and all that. So she needs to take some time to address this lengthy ritual before going out on a job. So everybody knows there's never a go pack up real quick and leave, because Verona's always got to kind of do her thing before we take off.
Okay. What does it look like when you do your sacrifice? Can you describe a little bit, or at least the room that you do it in?
So it is, as would expect, a dark, dimly lit room. She has like the occult books. That's kind of what's in her messenger bag. Is she's got, some occult books that she keeps with her. She also has locked in this room, kind of within a chest, an older tome. So she's got kind of all of the books laid out on the floor. She's definitely doing the, cutting into her hand, kind of spreading. And so she's kind of writing some names that we heard that kind of relate to the job kind of in blood as she's writing them out. And it's all kinds of different languages that she's doing. And so it's sort of this meditative speaking of these names, kind of speaking in tongues. And then this very awkward transition into like getting herself hyped up and ready because she's like learned these like ancient fighting techniques. So it's sort of this calm, meditative, quiet thing. And then just suddenly this like frantic jump into kind of this like stretching and, kind of getting ready. So you definitely see kind of the transition in, transition out. She's now ready to go.
Goth kid is like doing calisthenics all of a sudden. Just like,
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
One of my power tags is ancient fighting techniques that I got from my like
Nice.
affiliation with this cult.
The sandbag
That's
scene from
awesome.
Elektra.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Anything else that we want to do, or do we want to talk about how load up works? Jeremy, you got something?
I had a loose idea that might tie into load up.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about like the weird effects of the weather. So Agaricus is basically, I'm thinking to potentially try and use science experiment into floral overgrowth. He's thinking that there are certain forms of algae that are really good at soaking up pollutants or toxins, and to basically try and do like a thin weave of all your different little mushroom tendrils to create a mesh and then have
cool.
algae grow over it. So you could potentially have a patch to put on somebody to help counter the toxins.
Oh, I love this. This is fantastic. All right, let's
Just
do a quick roll.
Create your own armor?
Yeah.
That's
So-
wild.
On the flip side of like her doing the weird look, like, so you just see the big plant man just like very gingerly growing stuff. And
That's awesome. Let's do a roll and see. And if it's successful, we'll give you like a story tag to carry on with this.
Go. We'll toss 2 at the end of it.
What are we thinking you're using? What are the tags that you're using?
Do you think science experiment and floral overgrowth might work?
I think both of those make sense. Let's see if there's any others that might.
I don't know that I have anything else that works super good because I can't really think about like any of like the warrior instincts or maybe
not
sprout
really.
vines. But I feel like vines is meant to be more like the bigger like poison ivy type stuff, not really the fine tendrils. I feel like the 2. is about
Yeah, I
as
think
good as
you're
I
good
can
because I
get.
think floral overgrowth kind of does the thing that vines would be doing anyway.
Yeah.
So you're kind of doubled up in there. So
Yeah.
go ahead, go roll with a +2.
All right, so 10 plus 2 is 12.
Okay, that is phenomenal. So, okay, so basically, what we can say is let's make a story tag for you that you're going to kind of carry through. I don't know whether this is better to go like in the loadout or just as a story tag, but we'll put it like a toxic flower patch or something like that.
Okay.
And so we'll just kind of have it as a tag that you have. You just kind of have this either the ingredients to kind of throw in together, or maybe you pre-make a couple, whatever it might be. But you have them on hand, and if something happens where this might be applicable, just like any of your normal theme tags, you could potentially call upon this.
Cool.
Cool.
All right.
Hey, before we move on, I'm so sorry. I have a question. For the if you look at my character sheet, I have self good offense begins with self defense. I've been through so much, nothing can face me, and smash through it and fight big enemies for noise. How do those come into play? Do those come into play?
They do, but they're not like mechanical the way that your tags are. They don't like give you bonuses or whatever that. It's really just like things for you to help guide your character with what you do if you're kind of going along with them, or if you're actively working against them, that could be significant. And they're also like basically things for me that I can throw at you guys to help either make you make hard decisions about whether to follow along with those itches and rituals and things like that. So
got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So if that's the case, if we're all good, let's talk about loadout really fast. So loadout is the 5th theme. So all of you have like your 4 themes from Mythos, Noise, and Self, and then you've got your 5th theme, which is loadout. All of you should start the game with 3 potential tags in that loadout theme. Doesn't mean you're bringing all 3 with you. They don't all have you don't have access to all 3 of those during the course of the mission or the course of the gig. But what you do during the load up phase, now that you've learned what your job is and you've done a little bit of research and maybe like what you might need, now you essentially burn a power. So you have 1 power to spend to activate and bring one of those items with you. As we progress throughout the campaign, you'll have opportunities to take advancements that will let you get more items that you can activate from your loadout. And then there's other tags sometimes from your theme books that might also come into play too. Like the example in the rules is like if you have a tag that has like extra carrying capacity, if that's a tag that you get from one of your theme books, that maybe you can burn that tag, to get an extra item and stuff like that. So this is sort of like the idea of like you guys are back at your HQ, you're prepping, you're taking your stuff. So you're essentially bringing one of those. Make sense?
Yeah.
It does.
Okay. All right. So Verona, what are you taking with you?
That's a good question.
Oh, I thought you said it like that, so I figured you were ready. So I was going to go to you first.
So the loadouts that sort of came kind of with the the pre-gen that I took were a reanimated mummified hand, which I imagine is helpful for my ability to command undead servitors. I also have a ritual dagger and a personal memento. So it's probably between the ritual dagger and the reanimated mummified hand. So I think I'll just go dagger.
Okay.
You're like the gothiest goth kid that has ever gothed.
Do I take the hand or do I take the ritual dagger? Hand or ritual dagger? Clover, which one do you think I should take? Sorry, taking over your character. Okay. All right.
Because the ritual dagger still has blood because she was just using it for the ritual like 5 minutes ago.
Perfect. We probably won't always like break this down so slowly, but since it's our first time, I figure let's kind of get it right. Joe, let's go to you because I know that one of yours we're probably definitely going to eliminate. So we've got sensory data recorder augment, we've got armored utility van, and you got the gray market broker Deacon that we've talked about. So which one of those do you think you're going to have access to this job?
Well, so because we're doing this like different place that I don't think my van can go to, so I don't think it makes sense to bring that.
Right.
So it'd be between the sensory augment or the gray market broker, and I'm kind of confused as to how I bring them.
Okay, so one important thing in this game is that tags or even actions themselves are not location dependent. Like you can use them wherever. Like an action somewhere else can still affect what's going on here. So like your gray market broker, if you have access to him, that just, if you wanted to bring him, if you wanted to activate Deacon, that could be at some point in the mission, you can call him, you know, you can get him up on, and then maybe they give you a piece of information, right? With the armored utility van, I'm not suggesting you do this, but like theoretically, I know we were talking about this ahead of time, you could be the guy in the van. Like you could be the guy who's in the van, you have access to your stuff, everyone out is going out and doing things, and you're the one who's constantly putting stuff up on your screens and things like that. That's kind of how it works. Like, so just always remember that actions aren't like absolutely location dependent like they are sometimes in other games. But it's up to you.
I might lean towards the van then actually, because it has like my weaponsmithing stuff in it. And I would want to leverage that as we go along. In case we run into something crazy, that's like another aspect of my character that I lean into, where is when I know what we're fighting, I start making the weapon for it.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Rika, do you have something that you're bringing?
Yeah, I have from my pre-made, and thank you for adding this, Jeff, cyberware repair kit, augmented flash and clothing, our personal firewall. The flaw for the cyberware repair kit is that it can only do minor repairs. What I am bringing is the flash and clothing.
Cool.
And because I really want to be able to use that to like visually taunt and draw attention to myself if like they are off doing other shit. Like that's the intention.
I can see that. Ivan, what are you taking?
So I'm gonna stow my backpack full of iron filings in my secret cubby in the washer place. I'll take a look at my silenced pistol and realize I still haven't bought more bullets for it. So I'm gonna be taking my demonic pendant to help out with my fire making.
Fantastic. Okay. And then Jeremy, what are you taking with you? And I'm going to say that the things that you crafted, like that's separate. It's called as a story tag. Yeah. So you can still bring something from your loadout.
Well, then it's the most high end thing that Agaricus owns, which is the Omniduck brand super duct tape, which is 9 times out of 10 what he brings.
Ridiculous, but I get it. Okay. All right.
He does his own stuff most of the time, and he just
makes sense. Okay. So we see a montage scene of you guys like getting your stuff ready, like, and kind of going through some of your feeds to try to get some extra background information on the various factions and people. And then we see all of you pile in probably to Clover's van, and you head out to Salt Spit Landing. So I'll show you kind of roughly on I'm going to make a better map at some point. I just don't have time. So essentially you're heading out to kind of the western peninsula of the Smokestack district. That's generally where you're going. And when we'll say you arrive, you try to find a good place to park your van, because when you get here, you realize this place is, well, it's just kind of crawling and overrun with people. Like it is incredibly overpopulated, stacks on stacks. You can see that there are like skyscraper high stacks of cargo containers that you can see have been repurposed into various things. It's almost like its own little colonies of a city itself, or at least a borough of some kind. And you can also, like, you have a little bit of trouble kind of finding a place at first, but eventually you kind of find somewhere that you feel like you can kind of use as your base location. But overall, like, it's a very lengthy and decaying stretch of docklands, right? And when those of you who step out of the vehicle step out of it, your sensory overload, just toxic brine, is just assaulting your nostrils, assaulting your throat, and it's all mixing with these giant stacks and heaps of industrial waste that still seem to be scattered about. In some cases, you see there's people who are gathered around them, fishing through them, scavenging through them. You can see when you look out at the water, the waters of Arizona Bay, what the megacity is effectively named after, is like lapping against these rusted metal of the docks themselves. No wood to speak of whatsoever. And all of it's kind of blackened with this oil and this filth to the point where it almost feels like that unto itself is like an extra layer. Extending kind of southward and northward away from this dock area, there are these dead shores, which is probably what you would know them as, where you can see the scrawniest and poorest of people moving up and down, just kind of going through and sifting through the various wreckage, the stuff that washes up on the shore from sunken California, seeing if they can find anything. On the docks themselves, you see all sizes of junk boats that are just bobbing in the water. Some of them are unloading what looks like scavenged gear. Others are loading potential clients, many of whom, when you see them, look far too well dressed for this place. Like they are dressed to the nines in some cases, and with a very kind of anachronistic vibe. None of them look to be up on the latest fashions that you would expect to find from the Silk Quarter eastward in the megacity. They all look like something out of a different time, like 100 years ago. Like flapper women here and there, men in three-piece suits and suspenders and things like that. All of them have, you can tell, an aura of wealth about them. You can see that some of those junk boat captains that come out, like you can see they race to any group of people that comes to the docks or near the docks and tries to sell or purchase or buy some kind of job. And you can see that there's also these much larger trawlers, not for fishing, because eating anything at it here would be very dangerous, but more for just sort of dredging the bay for like all these old treasures. You can see that there's like basically a whole vendor sweep, all these different tents and lean-tos over by this corroded lighthouse that doesn't look to be functional. There's no light coming from it, but it looks like it. And you can tell that seems to be where a lot of these people in this small little community sell and trade like various things that they find. The one location that you look around here within this little dock area, there is this glowing blue neon light that says Blue Lobster. And you can see what looks like a blue lobster underneath that writing. And you can hear the sounds of music, proper music coming from there. And it does look like that's like the one permanent business that isn't just lean-to and whatnot. There are also, like I was saying, tons of these shipping containers, some of which you actually recognize have the Maya Corp logo on it. That was referenced a few times. And that's what you all see when you approach and you kind of get into this big, broad salt spit landing. So the way the game basically works is the MC establishes, and then you all kind of take actions and tell me what you do. So I've just established what would you all like to do. Anyone can go in this case, like just call out if there's something you want to do. What would you be doing with the first thing you do when you get here?
Rana would like to go to the Blue Lobster.
Okay, sounds good. So, Verana, you head out in the direction of a Blue Lobster. When you go inside, the first thing you basically notice is that it is definitely a restaurant. Like, no doubt, it has like a sort of a dive bar-esque quality to it. In a way that you're probably familiar with to a degree, but it looks surprisingly clean compared to everything around here. Because like you haven't taken a step in the last mile since you've made it to the landing without stepping in grime or a puddle or some sort of sludge, and the floors here look like polished linoleum of some kind. There are proper booths that look leather, and they don't seem to have tears in them. There's various like tchotchkes and other types of things hanging from the walls, like photographs of fishermen, and it also looks like some other, like, are those actual fish that have been mounted as well? And you can see there's people like scattered about that are in booths, and they seem to be eating. What would you want to do here, Vrana?
So I would say Vrana walked off without saying anything, as she is kind of wont to do. And then when she gets where she's going, she'll sort of look around to see if anyone followed her or not. And it doesn't bother her one way or the other if they did or didn't. So it looks like she turns around and sees Agaricus behind her.
I like to imagine that I haven't even parked the van yet. I'm just like white knuckling it through all these people and stuff, and you just jump out while it's still moving.
Yeah.
I think Agaricus he's self-aware of the impression he might make, so he maybe like hangs back and is kind of like,
So Vrana will see if there's sort of like a host stand or something at this restaurant.
Okay. So there is like a little host stand. There's a little sign. It says, "Please wait to be seated." And what you do notice, Vrana and Agaricus, is that all of the various people in the booths, they look grimy. Like they still look like the same people that you've encountered. Like they could work on a fishing crew. They could be a scavenger or something like that. But you do see a hostess come up, and she's like, "Is that going to be two for dinner? Two for dinner?"
Yes. And Vrana will kind of gesture to Agaricus, making sure that the host sees
hello,
them.
and make sure you do a lemony scent.
Oh, it's very lovely. It's very nice. It's very nice. But be careful. You might upset the chef. And you look back and you can see through like the window into the kitchen that there is a chef that you can tell is like yelling. He's just like, "You're just donkeys!" Like, as he's just yelling left and right at the people who are kind of cutting things up. And someone's like weeping in the corner. He doesn't really like it when anyone, does something that might interfere with the ambiance or the flavor. You taste apparently with your nose as much as you taste with your mouth, he says.
I don't even have one, but I understand. That's the second time tonight somebody's told me the chef would be angry with me.
Well,
we understand if you want to seat us away from the kitchen. We won't be offended.
So what you do notice is that as like you're looking at the kitchen, like one of the things is like there's a chef that's like arguing with the staff, but you also notice that there is a well-dressed person in the corner by like the door that goes back into the kitchen. And there's another argument going on. You see that very well-dressed person is arguing with, well, you presume the owner or somebody else working. And you notice, the two of you, that they have like a small little logo on this white blazer that is sort of double-breasted, and it says Maya Corp on it. So as you're being led to your booth, she sits you down, gives you over these menus. You notice, by the way, when you sit down, there's a squishiness to it. It feels kind of wet. And as you sit down, for the briefest of moment, you see everything in the restaurant just flicker and then come back. And for that one brief moment, it looked very much like you were inside of a shipping container with sludge and toxic stuff spewing down the walls, and you were sitting on various milk crates. But suddenly everything's fine. And she's like, "Sorry about that, darlings. Can I get you started on something to drink? Would you like to see a wine menu?"
Sure.
So she hands you over a wine menu, and it says red and white.
What do you
red
recommend?
For me,
I recommend
red. Always red.
I recommend drinking the red because it's harder to see all the terrible bits inside of it.
Ooh.
Do you have like comms amongst each other, or?
I think it's fine. Like the items that you have in your loadout are not exhaustive. You have other items. It's just what gives you a mechanical bonus. So I have no reason why you wouldn't. I don't see any reason why you guys wouldn't at least have local comms. Like as long as you're in the area near each other, you can probably quickly like tap in your So this is the future after all. So, okay.
Yeah. Grinning like, did you get us a table?
And Verona just sighs. We're.
I just got the van parked.
Oh, that's so great. If you can come, if you want, just let her know that we're here.
Okay. So we're going to cut out of there for a second as Agaricus and Verona sit down, order some red wine. Clover is apparently going to come join them. Ivan and Rika, what about the two of you? You arrived here. Do you come with them? Do you go do something else? What do you want to do?
Well, first, once I got a chance, Rika, what are we supposed to be doing here again? As soon as she said we were going down to the bay, I started thinking if there were seahorses in the bay, and I got a little distracted. Like, what are we supposed to be doing?
We gotta. Well, the first thing we need to do is find a scavenging boat and then go see Nostalgia Jack. These boats, like they might not want to take us. That's the problem.
Oh, it's not a problem. We'll get this. Do you have any food?
Oh. Well, I think Verna's at a restaurant. And Agaricus could probably make some food. Even if...
no, thanks. Verona, you're at a restaurant, right? On our
yes.
PDATs, not cell phones.
Yes.
Do they have breadsticks?
No. It's a nicer place than that.
Nice places have breadsticks. Have you ever been to an Olive Garden?
No.
I did once sleep with some olives.
Are you going to find us a ship and I'll bring you out some food?
I need the food to find the ship.
Why don't I go get us
I'll
the
start
ship?
looking for a ship.
You guys go do that. I am going to go into the restaurant and just take the plate off of the first table I see and leave.
Okay.
no.
So you're going to make a roll to try to do that, as there is a risk of failure and consequence in doing so. Okay. What tags do you think are useful in this situation for that?
I have my power tag for my tech gremlins, cause clever pranks, as well as my stir up trouble from my rebel without a cause. Do you think I could? And maybe
I think
also,
clever pranks and stir up trouble would probably apply here.
Yeah.
I don't think tech gremlin's really gonna help you out too much.
Fantastic.
What about evade surveillance for my zeroed out category? I don't know if that would help. The people are going to see me. They don't need a security camera.
There's really no way of like evading the fact that there are people that you're taking there. Yeah, so I think surveillance is more like maybe the camera of someone following you or something.
Okay, so 2.
Okay, so 2d6 plus 2.
That would be do math, 14.
Okay, so you come in. You rolled boxcars. Okay, so you come in. You can see like there is this sort of like ornery old sea captain or something like that is in a conversation with this other ornery old sea captain, and they're both like, I'm ornery, and the other one's like, I'm ornerier, and you take that opportunity while they're competing over their levels of orneriness to come in and you snatch their food off of the plate.
I just grab a plate of food. I don't snatch the food. I grab the plate.
Just grab the plate. Okay. And the food just stays behind. And so you come out.
I take the plate with the food. Food's on the plate. On the plate. Do you not know how plates work?
I said that at first, and then I don't understand what's happening.
I'm giving you shit.
Okay. So you take the plate of food,
Yeah.
And are you leaving? I assume like you rush
Yeah.
out at that point. Okay, so you
Yeah,
rush out at that point.
My goal here is to find some kids, some, poor urchins on the street, and I'm going to feed them and hopefully make their day a little better and see if they can give me any info on any captains that may be willing to take on passengers for something like
Gotcha.
this.
Okay, so we'll say you steal some food from Red Lobster. When you get out of Red Lobster, you realize as you take a handful of steps away from the restaurant itself, that what looked like it was a beautiful kind of glossy ceramic plate is in fact some rusted, grimy old hubcap. And the food that looked, when you were looking at it, like a fresh blue lobster is in fact some sort of strange mutated looking fish that has like 3 different tails and 7 eyes. And it has been like filleted in some way, and it looks like it's probably been cooked, but that is the actual food that you seem to have in your hand.
Oh, this is going to be harder than I thought. Okay. Hopefully, those poor hungry children I find will be hungry enough that this food still looks appetizing.
Okay, so you go on the hunt for some poor young kids that you might be able to bribe with some nasty ass food.
Yeah. I
Okay.
want to find some street orphans.
Rika, what are you up to?
I think I'm with Clover in trying to find a ship.
Okay,
Not
so the two.
knowing about this urchin plan.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so finding where like the junk boat captains like are isn't particularly difficult. You can see that there's several ships that are kind of on either side of the dock here and there, and you can see all of them of various shapes and sizes. So what I'm kind of curious is like if you're trying, is there like a particular? So when you're looking for a junk boat captain, like is there like a particular quality or a characteristic or something like that you're looking for, or is it just like you just take whatever? Like are you looking for the cheapest one? Are you looking for the funniest one, the most obvious one, the safest ship? Is there something in particular that you're looking for?
So the thing that's on Rika's mind is that she's probably like 3 or 4 times heavier than the average person because of all the metal. So she's really worried that they're gonna be like super ornery about like, no, our ship is for normal people, not for criminal progress. So like that's what she's kind of worried about, and I don't know the exact term for what that concern is, but that's her concern.
Okay. Okay. So like you're basically looking for the safest or biggest boat, probably.
Yeah,
something
the
like that?
one that's not going to have a problem with Rikon.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And
so
I have rugged charm, which I have decided to modify as being grungy cool.
So let's try this. Let's try this for the first time. Since there's 3 of you that are directly trying to essentially get a junk boat captain for hire, let's try a tracked outcome, because there's a lot of different options. And so a tracked outcome, what that basically means is think of it like a skill challenge for what we're kind of doing here. Like that's kind of a close approximation for what we're doing, and that you're trying to I want to kind of see the degree of success, or I want you to kind of whittle down like a particular from a number that I might be setting that you guys are trying to talk amongst the various people in the dock to see if you can get directed to a quality, kind of a quality or trustworthy captain of some kind. Okay. So if that's the case, Rika, so we'll start with you. So like you are going up, and like you and Clover are head over to the docks. You're kind of moving up and down the various piers. You're inspecting these different ships to try to figure out which ships actually look like they could carry you, right? So you don't want to look at any tiny little dinghies or anything like that. So if that's the case, Rika, so that's sort of what we're doing. What would you then be using as you're moving around and assessing like the quality or the size of these ships? Like what kind of tags did you put together for this?
So this is before talking to them, just identifying the ship.
Well, it's up to you. If you want to talk, I just went by what you said. So you said that you were looking for something. So if you want to talk to them, that's fine too.
I was asking specifically because I'd like to use worked unusual jobs for looking for the ship and rugged charm / cool for actually talking to the captain.
Okay,
So
yeah, because
I'm
like
approaching them as two different things. I don't know if that's valid.
I think it could be all the same because you could see like a captain hanging out by their ship and you're looking at them and maybe you're just having like these quick questions and conversation and such like that. So, okay. So works unusual job, rugged charm. That's fine. Go ahead and then roll 2d6 with your +2.
Great joke. So that is a 9 on the dice, +2 is 11.
Okay, excellent. So that is a success without consequence. So basically, as you're going by, and you're like speaking to these various various captains, like you're definitely getting the sense that none of them seem too particularly concerned with your size. Okay, so they're basically looking at you and they're like we bring salvage back every day that's 3 times the size of you. Just take a look at the statue farm over there. And they kind of point and you can just see over by like the lighthouse, there's just all these different statues of like, are like repurposed like street lights and stuff that people have been digging up from sunken California and everything. So it doesn't look like they're too particularly concerned with your size. And so that doesn't seem, yeah. So then what we basically can do now is, since this is a tracked outcome, you can spend your power that you just developed to kind of apply a tag or a status effect or something like that. And so you have 2 to spend, actually 3 because you crit effectively. So you have 3 that you can potentially spend to potentially like apply like various status effects or something like that. So things you could be like things you might be able to apply are things like swayed, or like you could say like they're swayed, or they're charmed by you or something. Like it doesn't have to have like a particular tag. Like you can kind of come up with something. It doesn't, like, you don't have to worry about like a full inventory of them. Like you can kind of whatever you think you want to spend to apply like those tags to something or those statuses to something.
I have to
disarmed.
I'll put 3. I like the idea of like disarmed or willing or charmed or like something in that vein.
Yeah. And so what you can do with your power that you just developed, because like you had +2 on the roll, but then because you crit, you get an extra 1 to spend. So you have 3 to spend. You can spend all 3 to get 3 different tiers, the same status. So you can say charmed 3. Like now they're now when you're walking up and down the docks, like they're calling, "Hey Riker, come on! No, you don't want to go to that one. That one, he's a piece of shit. You want to come over here?" You know, so like they're all kind of like fighting over like your business.
Yes. Okay, I would love to do that if it means that like they're willing to hang out there and bring us back.
Okay. All right. So that might. Okay. So like hanging out there in the water is that's kind of dangerous. The storms comes in.
I'll buy you a drink when we get back at Blue Lobster, or somewhere nicer.
Like you've had the drinks at the Blue Lobster. I'm still working one through my system.
All right, somewhere else.
And so now basically,
it was just in Silo. That was a pretty nice place. I'll take this.
Do I look like someone who could go to Silo? They wouldn't
even let me in the door. Do I look like someone who could go to Silo?
You're all chrome. I can see my reflection in your fucking ass. Like, hey, look at me. I got my eyebrows. They're good. Like, come on. I haven't seen my reflection in the water in 20 years. And I can look at you. You got your chrome. You look all fancy. Going to some fancy, some penthouse restaurant.
Listen, either way, just hang out for like just a bit and, bring it back. Just a bit.
So you've made a decent amount of progress, but maybe they're not fully convinced yet. But Clover, you could potentially do something here at this point. So now you've got now essentially like reestablishing the scene. You've got these different captains that are kind of fighting over like possibly getting Rika's business, but at the same time they're kind of balking at the idea of like waiting for you all like in the middle of the bay. So this is where like you could come in and try to do something to further affect it. And that's what the tracked outcome is. So it's kind of like a skill challenge. You get more successes, or like you count down the clock of like a blaze in the dark type thing. It's kind of the same kind of mechanic.
Okay. The 3 that I'm gonna see if they can leverage here. I've got read body language to try and suss out which one we might get the best chance with. And then I've got share the luck with my luck charm path. So I think that, because we're kind of doing a collaborative thing, I could play into that, share the luck. And then if I could also tap into analytical brain augment, maybe I could pull up, like, did I notice any weather patterns or anything in the forecast, so I could just kind of play off of me, like, oh, it'll be fine, like there's no storm or anything coming for another like half hour or whatever, like something like that.
So if you're trying to, so I would say, okay, so a few things I would say could potentially, I guess you could do all 3. I guess that's kind of could work. Like if you're reading body, like you're trying to do a couple different things. So you're trying to just sort of see which one of those is more inclined to listen to you, and like how you can kind of take them a step further. That's fine. So yeah, let's go ahead and roll it with 3.
Okay.
They're going to be, this could be at a certain point, there's going to be some negatives and stuff, but I'm not really introducing that kind of stuff yet. Like, let's do it like bit by bit.
Sure. 12.
Okay, so you also completely crit, and so again for you, you're going to end up with like 4 power to sort of spend here, which is effectively enough to convince a couple of these captains. Like I would say you've completely hit the level that I would want you to get. So what ends up happening is like you start to narrow it down to 2 choices, because most of them, like as you're talking to them, you're reading their language and you're kind of seeing that a few of them, like they're like you get the sense that they're talking a bigger game, and then they really are, and a few other ones are like they don't look particularly trustworthy. They're not the kinds that are going to actually wait out there. They're the type of people who might go and say they're going to and then disappear. But there's 2 that you focus on. One is a guy who introduced himself as Grimy O'Connor, and he's got like this. He's like, I'm Grimy O'Connor, and he's and like you don't know why he's got that accent, but for some reason, on the shores of Arizona Bay, you've got a Grimy O'Connor, and he's just like, oh, well, I don't know. I can't really keep old Shelby out there on the water during one of these toxic storms. Old Shelby doesn't do too well in them. You know, I got caught in a toxic storm a few years ago. Shelby, she didn't talk to me for days. So there's got to be good pay in it, you see. And so so then you sort of tap into the idea of maybe like the weather patterns are like, well, maybe there won't be a storm after all, you know. So like you're kind of getting him to maybe buy into it a little bit. The other option you see is a robotic, like this, like kind of barnacle encrusted metal robotic looking man with a rusted metal frame. He's got these 4 glowing eyes, and he seems very eager to take your job. And he introduces himself as Salvage Sam. It's like, I would be a pleasure to make your service. I am very trustworthy. Many jobs have I completed. Your task seems particularly useful. I think I can be of great service. If I get caught in a storm, it is not as terrible for me as it is for these fleshlings. I am much more dependable than old Grimy O'Connor. There's a reason they call him Grimy. It's because he's grimy. Yep. So you kind of narrow it down to 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then while you're thinking of that, so I just like automatically spent your power for you there because you've depleted the clock, fine. Basically. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Ivan, let's check in with you. Like you were going around, you were trying to find and trying to give this food over to these random orphans that you find. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to say, put together a pool to me. So like you're moving around, you're by yourself now. You've got this stuff with you. We're going to call this like a story tag, basically a 1-use story tag to give this off. Okay. So you're going to have a +1 just from the food. Okay. And then what other kind of social skills do you have that you might be able to tap into to try to get some feedback?
Yeah, I've got my tag has a soft side.
Oh, that's perfect.
Trying to feed some kids in exchange for a little bit of information. Really, it's about feeding the kids. The information is just a happy coincidence. Yeah, so 2.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah, 2d6 plus 2. Go ahead and get a roll.
That would be 8.
8 total?
Yeah, with the 2, yeah.
Okay, so over like on the far side of those of where the stacks of those Maya cork crates are, like it's like a little like apartment complex with these old like fished out of the water containers. You do find this little alley where there's a bunch of kids in it. And it's all just like, and see some of them are just scrounging for whatever they can scrounge. A few of them are holding together and they're going through like whatever it is that they pickpocketed. But you do manage to kind of lure this one young girl, probably 12, 13 years old. And she comes over, and when she starts talking to you, notice her teeth are just all like horribly befouled, like twisted and crooked in some ways. But at the same time, she's like licking her lips when she's looking at the fish. And she says, she's like, my brother says I shouldn't eat it, but I'm super hungry. So a little dab doesn't hurt anybody, right?
Yeah, I mean, the adults over there are eating it, so I don't think it's imminently dangerous.
Well, no.
But I'll tell
Normally,
you can have the whole thing. I just need some help finding a boat captain.
oh,
Who isn't terrible? Who's not?
she looks around a bit, like she's worried, but then she reaches forward to take the fish off the hubcap.
Oh, I lean it towards her, like I let her take it.
They're all terrible. None of them are good. They're all bad in their own way. Some of them, they're gonna lure you into a trap and then they're gonna leave you out in the water. And some of them deliver like the rich folk over to the crusty ones so that they can ransom them off. And then, others just overcharge you. And then,
So we gotta go out there and we gotta do some stuff, and we gotta. The boat's gotta wait for us. Do you think any of them would do that?
Well, you don't. And she kind of looks like a little sheepish at you.
you don't look really rich. So
We're not.
maybe they won't give you over to the crusty ones. But
Who?
since you don't look rich, they probably won't wait around for you either.
If you had to pick, which one is the least terrible?
She kind of looks around, making sure no one's saying anything.
Well, I know that Grimy doesn't like the crusty ones.
Okay.
So
What are crusty ones?
the ones with the crust on them.
And they live out there in the water?
Yeah. They
Okay.
come here sometimes too, and we don't really like them. They're mean and they've got sharp teeth, and they can breathe underwater, and they can, like, you could shoot them, and then like the bullets don't go in
Because they're crusty on the outside.
because they're crusty on the outside.
Okay. Okay. So old
And she's
Grimy
like-
doesn't like the crusty ones, so we know he won't sell us to the crusty ones.
She starts, like, her eyes get really wide as she's looking at you, and she's looking past you, and she starts to back away. And then she turns and runs as she's like kind of vaguely pointing before she goes. And you look over your shoulder and you see walking in your direction, there are these two individuals, both of whom seem like 6'5", 6'6",
Yeah.
something along those lines. Both of them look to be like big thuggish. You can't even tell whether or not like they're particularly decked out with like augments or anything like that, but you do notice that they have affixed to them all these like stretches of coral that is either like adorned like armor or is growing out of them in some way, and you can see some of the growth is like kind of coming out of their foreheads or their chins, and like they're walking towards you. You're not sure if they're walking directly at you or not, but they are certainly coming in this direction, and she just bolted at the sight of them.
I I will definitely avoid them, but not as obviously bolt as what they did. I'll try and pick a perpendicular direction. Like I'll try and go like at a right angle from where they're walking to see if they kind of turn to meet me.
Okay. And so if you're just sort of like kind of nonchalantly walking away,
yeah,
I would say nonchalantly walk away, probably no roll necessary. So I'll say you can probably, and you can tell that they don't look to be following you particularly, but one of them does look your way, kind of takes you in for a second, but doesn't seem to follow up on it. But you do get the sense that one of them has seen your face now. Okay, we're gonna go back inside Blue Lobster, where Agaricus and Verona, the dinner has come. You've got these, there's these rolls that they taste wonderful. You're not really sure what's in them. Probably nothing good. Every time you bite into them, though, they don't taste like rolls. They taste spongy. And maybe once or twice when the augments flicker off once more, you realize you probably are in fact eating a sponge. That does seem to be what it's looking like. But the two of you are in here. You hear this Maya Corp person who is in this argument with the person who runs the restaurant. You've got some food in your direction. You maybe have heard once or twice from Clover on Rika, like they're interviewing boat captains. They kind of have a couple potentials. What are Agaricus and Verona doing at this point?
So earlier, whenever I went to steal food, there were like a couple of ornery captains arguing with each other. So it seems like those are a good target to kind of get some information from, or maybe like gauge reputation. So I have an odd idea that I think would be fun. I think I'll start with kind of like slowly, like sort of kelp and what looks like water vegetation starts wrapping around his body. So he looks like something that kind of came up from the depths, like a tall tale, basically. And he'll kind of stand up with that covering. He also use his impressive physique, so he kind of cuts a very impressive figure. And then tap into something else where I can call upon the honored warrior spirits past. And he'll kind of try to like call back memories of there's a man that they used to call him Master Commander, the Sea Wolf. What was his name? Thomas. Basically, he starts calling on memories of Sir Thomas Cochrane, so that he can kind of have the vernacular of his memory of old sea stories and stuff. So that he can kind of walk over, cut this figure, and by summoning on the memories of the spirit of this old naval hero, be able to like interject the jargon. Ahoy! I see that I found some proper captains, and I'd love to hear the scuttlebutt of the area.
Okay. Let's make this just a quick outcome just to see if they take interest. Give me a 2d6. Add your power that you just counted up.
Okay.
I am, however, going to say there's a -1 to this because they're extra ornery. Because where's our food? Which one of you?
All right.
Which one of
So
you?
I'll knock it back down.
Stole our food.
That's 7. It was a dumb idea, but
7 still a success. It's a success. With consequences. Okay. Consequences aren't always like immediate. Sometimes like I might carry it forward a little bit later or something like that. But they look up at you. What are you talking about? Thomas Cockring? What? What did you say? Who was that?
Oh, I thought you would have heard the stories.
What stories are you?
Seamen that you are. But I'm wondering who is not a worthy man of the sea. That grimy fellow or the robot one.
Salvage Sam, they call him. Oh, he's good at salvage, sure. He's real good at salvage. Oh, he seems to know the perfect places to go. The places where some new rich, fertile ground just happens to be spitting up the California of old. Kind of suspicious, if you ask me. Like he knows a thing or two that he's not willing to share. I know he's a rusty bolt of tin or metal, but he's got the coral growing on him. And if he's anything like the crusty ones, well, that's not a good sign, I'll tell you. I wouldn't trust that one with my own vomit bucket. Yeah, I've got one. I get a little sick on the sea. I don't need your judgment. Anyhow.
Of course not. In fact, I might find my own vomit bucket.
That's good. Does something like you vomit?
Well, sometimes you have to bilge out the bad water.
Yeah. Anyhow, Grimy, he's okay, I suppose, but he's opportunistic, that one. I have a feeling that if he had his mother on the ship, if she didn't pay her way, and if she didn't, participate and find some way to help, he'd probably toss her overboard. Anyhow, what do you need those two for anyway?
We have a job to go out into the waters, and we need to find people that can take us there. Unless you're a captain.
I'm a captain, all right, but I ain't got no boat. You see, the Silt-bound Authority, they ambushed me out in the waters.
No!
Yes, that's what they do, you see. They get on out there when you're nice and far away from the docks. When they're the only ones, you see, that could swim around in the toxic sludge they call the bay. So they get you on out there and they threaten to throw you overboard, or if you look like a rich person, well, they'll just take you with them and they'll ransom you off to this corporation or that family. Good thing for you don't look like rich folk. But they'll definitely throw you over. And then when you come on back, you're gonna look like that one.
And he points over to the salad bar, and you can see that there's a person over there who their face is just sort of dripping down, and they're constantly having to pick it back up and throw it behind their shoulder like it's a lock of hair. And one of their legs doesn't even have skin on it anymore. It just kind of looks like this tissuey little thing here and there.
Anyhow, life preservers don't save you out there. All I'm saying is, you're pretty fucked no matter what you do.
Well, it's been a terribly good time speaking to you, and I thank you for your time.
You can eat those rolls.
I think you need them more than I do.
Oh, they taste very good, don't they? Like Mama
I don't
used to
really eat
make.
very often.
Okay.
This morning I ate part of a rotten raccoon.
Did you know?
Well, I put my roots down into him.
You ate a raccoon. What's a raccoon?
I don't know. Somebody else remembers it, and so I remember it.
You're a strange one, aren't you? Ugh.
Yes.
All right. So you're headed out into the bay. You need a captain. What are you heading out into the bay for? What big business salvagers are you?
Yes.
You wouldn't be lying to me, would you?
My friend's excellent salvagers. I have no clue how to do it, but I'm useful in a pinch.
All right. I'll put the word out. I'll say there's some funny mushroom fella looking for folk to bring them out into the bay. Maybe that'll help you. Maybe it won't. I don't care.
He takes a
Enjoy
big
the
chunk.
roll, sir.
And then Verana, while this has all been happening, what have you done?
So Vrana's been sitting there, and I imagine that we have some type of waitstaff who's been coming over.
Sure.
And so Verana, one of her, I've been looking at my tags while everyone else has been doing all of their things to see what on earth I could possibly use. So she has tragic loss and nothing hurts more than this are two of her tags from troubled past. So she basically wants to talk up the wait person and just how awful of a day she's having is just so bad. It's just so awful. And there's this argument that was happening with the Maya Corp and the owner guy that we passed. And so she's kind of trying to pivot to it's just such a bad day. It's just such an awful day. I need somebody else has got problems, right? Other people have problems in the world, and trying to pivot and see if the wait staff will dish on what that conversation is going on over there. Maybe someone else has also had a bad day.
Okay, so you're just trying to gossip essentially, or commiserate with your.
Yeah,
okay,
essentially.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead. Give it a roll.
okay, all right. Can you use one or both of those tags?
I mean, honestly, one of the things I've been over rolling because like the roll should like not only should be like risk of failure, but it should be dramatic in some way. And this isn't really particularly dramatic. You're just kind of gossiping. So I would say in this case, yeah, don't roll. I think it's fine to say we don't roll on this one. But like while Agaricus is sort of chatting up these two old, salty dogs. You start talking to your waitress, who says, "It's like that one over there. It's one of those fancy folk from Sweet Release. You see, Maya Corp. They seem to think that whatever we got working in here, She's like, don't tell anyone. But we fished one of their augment overlays out of the sea. And we're making use of it here. You're not actually in a clean restaurant. You're really in a couple containers of cesspool filth. Don't tell anyone."
It flickered a couple times. I'm just ignoring that.
Well,
it flickers. So it flickers. We might want to look at that.
Well, I don't know how it works, but I know that one over there is really trying to get it back. Not only that, but apparently trying to get out to the bay. Apparently there's some sort of problem with some of the collective's augmented relays, that their halves aren't working the way they're supposed to. And she's supposed to be heading on out there, but she stopped here first to just ruin our day too. So,
trying to find a way out there?
Well, yeah, she's not right this second, but she's talking about wanting to go out there.
I see. What do you know her name?
I think her name was Miss Lex. Something like that.
Miss Lex. I see. That's all been very... So the collective, they've just been... And she's kind of taking in everything that she's been told. So you've been doing much better business since you were able to get that augmetic, haven't you?
We've been doing business. So something's better than nothing, and that's what we had before.
You should take advantage of it while it's here, because you never know when the thing you love the most is going to be gone forever. You should cherish every moment.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not.
So she nods, and, well, good luck with that. And then she goes and checks out a different table.
Okay.
So after that's said and done, after Ivan has kind of spoken with the kids and kind of gotten some info, we'll say all of you at one point or another kind of meet up somewhat centralized with various information on the different captains, various information on the crusty ones, and other things that might befall people who go out on the bay. And we'll go ahead, we'll call it there for tonight, and then you guys can figure out what method you want to take for traveling out to the collective, and we'll pick up on that next time. All right. We did it.
Yay.
It's over. We made it through one session. All right. So yeah, that's that. We
Okay.
There's a couple little things that we still didn't do quite right, that we didn't like kind of touch on yet, but we'll get into a little bit more. We sort of played around mostly with quick outcomes. The one tracked outcome, you guys just like crit succeeded it to death, so it really sort of was a moot point at a certain point. But all right, don't apologize. No, it's good. Let's go ahead.
Rules.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do some close applause. We'll get on out of here, and yeah. That's that. So let's see. Chuck, Joe, what's going on with DOK?
Well, yeah, DOK Wednesday. We've got our Night Below campaign. We are getting closer and closer to finishing it. Fridays, I think we're doing some one shots because we're down some people for the next week or two. And then, yeah, that's DOK. But not DOK. People can go buy my game Teenage Odyssey. There
Okay,
it
like
is.
I mean, you don't have to have like 2. That's like
I got like 8 more.
Yeah.
to
For those,
pick from me.
if you're just listening, we're holding up various copies of Teenage Odyssey right now. Yeah.
So yeah, you can pick up Teenage Odyssey on Drive-Thru RPG, and our next game is going to launch on Kickstarter on October 1st. It's called Skin City.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll drop a link to because I know you've got the startup page, the follow page
the
up.
follow
So we'll drop a
page,
link to that in the notes. So if you want to check this out, if you're watching this or listening to this later, check out the show notes. We'll have a link to the Skin City stuff. Awesome. All right. My Trey, where can we find you on the internet?
I am to plays games on YouTube where I make system agnostic or multi-system content that centers the GM and player experience. But more important than that, on the 25th of September, that is 2 days from now, on the Lollygagging Discord, if you want, I'll be doing sort of a Q&A for the illness that I have, which is spinocerebellar ataxia type 2. That is International Ataxia Awareness Day. So all questions you can either ask publicly or DM me anything you wanted to know about what it's like to have a growing disability and how does it affect my work? How did it affect me working with Huckleberry? What's the sex like? How does it affect my mental health? Like all of this shit that you were kind of curious about, but you didn't really think you had anyone to ask. Please come and ask me. It's all in service of making more people aware of this rare disease. So join the Lollygagging Discord and ask me questions.
Awesome.
I'm going to be super existential on that day anyway, so
Okay.
I might as well talk to people.
You just set some very interesting boundaries for those questions too. So
You really did.
brought this on yourself, is what I'm saying.
No.
I really hope people take me up on this.
Yeah. I hope so too. And thank you for being willing to do it. Like we really, really do appreciate it. And that you're willing to share with us. It's just awesome. Just awesome that you're willing to do that.
Thanks, guys. And if you've ever heard me slur, I wish it was because I was a little drunk. Really, it's just because my mouth doesn't always work the way it ought to. But I would much rather be a little drunk because that's who I am as a human being.
That's just how you rate. Just a little drunk.
Yes.
Not like sloppy drunk. Just a little drunk.
No. Like respectful levels of drunk.
Very nice. Very nice.
It exists.
All right. What else? Us. So next game for us, next stream tomorrow night. No, we are off tomorrow night. Normally it'd be Star Trek, but we are off tomorrow night. But we will be back with Star Trek next week. Thursday this week, we're starting up yet another new game as we are playing through some World of Arzium, which is a new kind of whimsical fantasy game that's based in a setting that several board games that Melissa, myself, and Kipser are huge fans of. Is set in. So we're actually playing the role-playing game version in the same universe. So we're very excited to give that a go. We're going to be making characters and we're going to be starting up our little adventures. Friday, we've got some more Delta Green. We're going to try again to finish up Arizona as we were pretty close to the end, but we had some internet troubles last time. So we're going to finish that up on Friday. And then Saturday, we've got the triumphant return, or not so triumphant return, of Call of Cthulhu as we are continuing Eternal Lies. We had a tragedy at the end of Mexico City. So we're going to be picking up, getting ready to go to a new location, doing some downtime in the interim. And then next Monday, I believe we are starting up Outgunned, is going to be the Alien Cruise post game of choice. So the plan is to do Escape from Mars, the sequel to Escape from New York and Escape from LA, except there is / Total Recall / Big Trouble in Little Chinatown. So it's going to be basically that. And so with the alien crew. So it's going to be super serious with a lot of like really heartfelt moments and probably some tears. So come hang out with us for that. And that's about it. So thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for checking us out later. If you're doing that, we're going to go ahead and raid somebody. Our friend Insomniac RPG is playing through some D&D, it looks like. So follow that raid. I think. Did I hit the raid? I think I hit the raid. Follow the
You
raid. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.